Here we go. Thank you very much. How are you, Marcia?
I am doing great. I'm still having fun. I'm still expectant. I'm still full of energy. Every
That's
night at
amazing.
7. Because I
Right.
get to meet people like you and Paula Bradshaw and Veronica Price, and it just energizes me.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to make sure that you get these voices out. And I also appreciate those who are on your live that are listening in because they could be doing anything at this moment. They could be doing anything. It's not easy to be able to do something like this. It takes a lot. It
Hmm.
takes a lot of love first. First, you got to love your country and love the community that you're choosing to represent.
Hmm.
And in that journey, it's a lot of commitment that you have to then put out there to try to make a dent. I would say that for the what we call the alternative parties, as Apostle Canterbury was saying earlier, the younger parties, we are, just unhappy with how things have evolved within our democracy. And so we've put our voices out there, we've put our characters in some instances, our reputation in some cases, and lots of time into trying to create a narrative, not only just for us to be able to ascend to high office on behalf of people, but also to give inspiration to those who are coming behind us so they know that they too can do something different. And speaking about doing something different, because that truly is what needs to happen in Barbados, things need to be done differently. And new voices would more than likely be the catalyst for doing things differently. And all we ask is for the people of Barbados to recognize that this is the time, or the time has been here for quite a while, and now is the time to make that change. That is that time to put some younger, newer voices and representing newer institutions in the halls of parliament so that we can kind of shake up this democracy. Now, I'm representing St. George South, which is the constituency I was born and raised in. That's the constituency that I'm representing. And I'm hoping that the residents of St. George South understands that they also can be a part of this historical moment to create that new level of change within the halls of parliament by, getting rid of some of the old school politics, the old way of doing things, the old style of representation, and to create something different. Now, what is that something different? Now, I, I, the challenges in Barbados are pretty consistent. You can be on the ground or you don't have to be on the ground to know what's happening. Each constituency, from my understanding, from my focus, and from my trajectory of what needs to change, each constituency, and particularly St. George North, there is a growing sense of hopelessness. Of
Hmm.
course, unemployment is there, but for me, the youth are the ones that are bearing the sacrifice in this moment. And that's
Hmm.
where my campaign is focused on the youth. What
Hmm.
are we going to do with the youth? And that has been the question that everybody's been asking. Now, as I walk around in my constituency and as I pay attention to what's going on in Barbados in general, the youth
Hmm.
have been pretty much forced into a corner.
Hmm.
They don't feel as though they belong. There's a
Hmm.
sense of hopelessness. They look around them and see the levels of manipulation, but
Hmm.
also they see the injustice that takes place within our social fabric and society. And they are literally rebelling as a result of that.
Hmm.
So I feel like the opportunities to create opportunities for the youth should be the thrust of any representative. And
Hmm.
if you just take it from the perspective of the debt that our country is in now,
Yes.
where we're digging a deeper hole, each administration comes in, they're digging a deeper hole.
Hmm.
And with that debt, it appears as though the only way we're going to be able to pay back that debt is if we create some sort of new innovative way that we can thrive and function and create some new industry that we can
Hmm.
sell to generate revenue, or else the people become sold labor.
Hmm.
Sold labor to international corporations, sold labor to big business, where they're literally spinning top in mud but unable to create wealth, which then can lead to comfort and then even the more evolution of innovation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the youth are not being cared for, catered to, and taken care of right now, who is going to be able to cover this amount of debt that we're constantly stacking on
Right.
to our GDP? It's almost like you left out the essential component of creating innovative people, which are the youth, which is the educational system, which has a huge fracture, which is our social structure, which is our culture, which is
Mm-hmm.
continuous. Like right now, you have a situation where major political candidates or major political parties are basically utilizing alcohol, weed, partying as a way to generate or stimulate the youth vote. So
Mm-hmm.
creating more chaos within our communities so they can gain power again from that youth vote. And so when you destroy the core of our society, which are our youth, when we don't educate them about the political processes, how it works, when we just feed them with alcohol and paraphernalia, what you call merch now, BLP merch or DLP merch, the
Mm-hmm.
hats, the masks, the shirts, when they don't understand how this money is coming through to them, and then they become the enslaved ones who have to work for next skin to nothing to cover taxes or to be able to pay back the corporations to get our country out of debt. These young people, this youth element that we're talking about, have to be the innovators, have to be the ones to create, have to be the ones to invent, have to be the ones to produce, have to be the ones that are drivers of new industry. This is where it has to come from. And until
Mm-hmm.
until our political elite understands this and invests more in communities, which is what my campaign is about, training
Mm-hmm.
and development of anybody within communities who can literally see, walk, or talk, helping them to understand that they belong to something greater than they think, helping them to know that they have a greater purpose, and helping them to see that even though they may not have a full degree or they may not have gone through UV or gone through community college, that their skills that's within them, that God-given spirit and skills that's
Mm-hmm.
within them, can come out and then manifest in such a way that it can be income generating. So
Mm-hmm.
several layers of things that I see communities need that can automatically be triggered. Like how many people in communities would like to have a well-trained professional home health staff that can come in and assist them in homes? Of young
Mm-hmm.
people who are trained professionally, who are with trained administrators of the same youth within communities who can do work within homes in communities, whether it's maintenance, whether it's home cleaning, whether it's babysitting, whether it's just holding on to the children while mommy and daddy goes out. Some basic, very basic things that with proper training, with high level
Mm-hmm.
of responsibility and proper training can be literally deployed within communities so that income generation can happen. But what if now, as a representative, you help these young people to structure that business model and help them now to be able to market that business model because they're young people who develop apps within communities that we don't know about. They're young people who develop flyers. They're young people who offer professional services. What if we help to put that together within communities, package it well, and then distribute it across the communities across Barbados for people who need these services so that
Mm-hmm.
we can then get income generation happening almost immediately, but also more than anything else to help nurture these young minds to understand that there's a
Mm-hmm.
process to becoming wealthy. It doesn't just happen overnight. And to become comfortable with chipping away at this, as long as they develop their professional skills, as long as
Mm-hmm.
they can see that they're improving, and to make sure that they can actually be able to gather the revenue that they call for their services. So whether it's
Mm-hmm.
$100 per home, whether it's $50 for child that babysitting. So with the professional training, they should be able to cover all of these bases. So those are
Mm-hmm.
just a few of the areas that I think are important, primarily because the focus for me and my campaign is to change and transform the culture within communities, because we have to depend on these same youth in order to take us out of the rut that we're in, that's created by professionals, by the way, whether they're professional economists, professional advisors, professional whoever that's making the tons of money that has got us in the position that we're in. It is the youth now with proper representation who will be able to get us out. Because the only other approach that established governments have right now is to beg, steal, and borrow. And when it's not begging, stealing, and borrowing, it's selling the labor of our people to other institutions so that they can have something to say, oh, look, we bought a bus that was electric. Oh, look, we bought a garbage truck. Oh, look, we did a road. But reality is, where is the revenue coming from? What industry have you created? Where are the young people within those communities? How are they managing? How are they flourishing? How are they growing and developing? And why is it that you're just dumping alcohol and weed in those communities for them to come and vote for you with your paraphernalia, instead of trying to develop the minds of the youth so they can develop their families to become progressive beings within our society?
Listen, guys. You hearing this? I mean, the chat is lighting up, Heru. Listen. This is a Heru, Everton, Heru, Holligan. You know, all those H's tough for a Jamaican, right? But they're getting it. Right? Everton. In Jamaica, we say Everton. Holligan. Right?
Yes.
But listen, guys, he is St. George South. St. George South. We need him in St. George South. We need him as a representative, Barbados. And everybody knows I'm rooting for all of the younger parties. And these ideas tonight, man, it's just beautiful. Ayodele Bishop said, well presented. Wow, goodness. This person, Nedi, is saying this last minute elections have hardly given other parties a chance to be able to get their name out there, because that's so true, Nedi, because they don't have the resources as the older parties. Not, we're not saying larger, the older parties, they don't have the resources. Yeah. Wow, Wayne Hoyt. Wow, look, I'm telling you, Wayne is saying, I'm thinking about joining the APP. Wow, these are the things that happen. This is so fresh. Denise is saying that Denise is an entrepreneur, and she's saying some good info, fresh and innovative, and this is what these younger parties represent. APP, it's APP night, so I'm saying APP, right? APP represent. Okay, guys, so we really need to do, let's do some real change, guys. We would sit down, Heru, and at Christmas, myself, my family, our family here, we talk about all these different things, and we need new fresh blood, and we need zinc. And that's one of the things, about Barbados. You guys are so educated, and you're so, a lot of intellect and lots of discussion. And we like to talk, Heru. But listen, man, put the talk in some action.
Yeah, I think we have done well for our people for a while, but it's almost like we're stagnated in a sense.
Yes.
And this is why I challenge the way, and even for my constituents, I say straight up, I'm not interested in a ministry. Not interested, I think I mentioned this to you in the last show I was on.
Let's clarify that, because a lot of people don't realize that.
Right. So when you're voted in, you become a member of parliament. A member of parliament that is supposed to be dialoguing consistently with your constituency to ensure that you can get their ideas, their feedback, and you should be able to debate in parliament based on the ideas of your constituents, not the ideas of your own person. But the template hasn't been properly set, where the constituents are engaged in knowing even what is to be debated. Because we have a system where both parties, as they go and come, they rarely invest in developing the intellectual capacity of the electorate so they are aware of how this democracy should happen. And this is a demise to the population. This is a huge demise to the youth, Because right now, as you're out there in canvassing, you feel that you're out there to help them with either buy something or with land or with a job, because that's how they see a representative. Now, you are supposed to help wherever necessary, but then to think, okay, you can only vote for this person because they come and buy drinks. That is the level that we are stuck at in our society. And not just youth, there are older people out there with that same type of philosophy, that same type of mindset. So what happened is that people in our constituency, they believe that you cannot represent them because your government is not going to win. And that's how it's been projected by the same parliamentary, the same governments of the past. They always say, what he can do for you, government ain't gonna win nothing, he can't do nothing for you. But that's not how this democracy should be practiced. If you believe that as a member of parliament who is advocating on behalf of the constituents, and you're bringing legitimate concerns to the government of the day about your constituents, and your government is deciding not to listen, hear, or act upon that, your government or the government is at fault, not the representative. But if you're going to vote for a representative because of that, then it shows you're not fully aware of how this should work. And I'm saying that a lot of the misrepresentation of how our democratic practices should work has been perpetuated by both parties for the sake of dominance and control. Again, pure manipulation. So when I said I don't want to be a minister, I mean that my love right now, as I run in this election, is to represent the interest of the people, meaning that my interest is to be on the ground in my constituency, not caught up with a portfolio of tourism or health and wellness or any of these portfolios right now, because the constituency need help. Yes. The youth need help. And so ultimately, you have the last government with everyone as a minister. Clearly, they're not working on the ground. They can't be working on the ground. They can't put programs in place for the youth to help them to develop and grow in a meaningful way. They can come and do one off here, one off there, or they can come and grabble up a bunch of people from the constituency and give them a job on the side of the road, beating the road just before elections, and then after that, that's gone. Instead of grabbling those people up, nurturing them into understanding how to start a business, using the money to buy the tools, to train them how to use the tools, creating an administration for the tool, for the resources for the tool, how to keep the tools, how to maintain the tools, and then set them up to market now their business so they can go out and market that business that they have in learning how to cut and take care of landscaping and stuff. They can market their businesses to the community members who want to have things done around their communities, and then they can be paid for that. But the government providing them with the tools and the maintenance and the supervision component, rather than having to go and bring them out and give them work for a short period, and then after the elections, which is most likely going to happen, not too sure, they get rid of them. At the end of the day, they haven't taught our youth how to be managers and owners of resources, how to market and develop business, how to become entrepreneurs. What they have done is they have literally thrown money at them, and then when that money has dried up, then they're back at square one again with no skill set that they can market for themselves. And so when I say I don't want to be a minister, I just want to be able to represent as an MP, where I go into parliament and discuss the issues that are happening within my constituency, advocate on behalf of my constituency, but more than anything else, be on the ground creating opportunities for my constituents that is above and beyond waiting on a government ministry to then give them something or do something for them, when we can create the things that we want for ourselves within communities if we have a way in which we can work and gel together and understand that our purpose and our destiny is beyond waiting for handouts from the government.
Wow. And let me just read the chat. I wouldn't even comment, because the chat, Wayne Hoyt said ministers can be hired from the general population as qualified or based on qualification and experience.
That's right.
And I think he says, I don't believe an elected MP should not be appointed as a minister, because then this is why everybody's saying, like myself, we don't see the representative. There's so many issues in our community, and we don't see them. Stephen Lovell is agreeing with you that electorate are, for the most part, politically illiterate. Yeah.
That is purposefully done, I assume, Stephen. I think that's purposefully done because that keeps a power structure in place where they're more dependent, and literally you're not creating opportunities to empower people. So even with when I watch how COVID was handled, to me, I thought it was handled most terribly, where we didn't give our people the tools for them to be in charge of their own destiny, to be in control of how they take care of them of their health, because we wanted to say that we did, or not we, but the government wanted to say we did it for you, and that's how they gain more leverage. And so with situations like that, it's purely manipulative, and this is for juvenile people. This is not for a developing democracy, and this is not how we're going to take youth and young people to the point where they're innovative enough that they can be able to create things to sell to the rest of the world, so that they can have so we can have a stable economy. So if you infantilize our population, then what do you expect? Nothing is going to come from it. So empowerment is my fundamental thrust. Development is my fundamental thrust. How to be a better father, how to be a better mother, how to be a better parent, how to be a better community-minded person, how to be a good auntie, how to be an uncle. Do you recognize every woman in this community as your mother or your sister? Do you recognize every man or boy in this community as your brother or your father or your uncle? And then if that happens, those nuts and bolts that put our society together as African people, if that happens, then we're on the path then to start repairing the damage that has been done to our people, community by community. And for me, nothing else matters as much. You can talk about the economy till the cows come home. All you're really saying is, how do I tap into something that Europeans created? How do I tap into their resources and bring it here so that we then can look as though we're developed? But as a holistic health consultant, that's a problem for me, because we have to get to the root cause of the fracture, of the disease. And so if you don't get to the root cause of the disease and you just keep putting this perfume on top of it, you never get to heal the disease that needs to be healed. So our trajectory is to get to the root and be able to build out. And it's not going to take a month, a year. It may take 10 years, but something has started that can leave a legacy for other youth in politics or in community development to forward and continue to do, because we have to see beyond our noses. We have to see past our noses. We have to see, how is this nation, how are our communities going to be a stable, thriving community that I want my grandchildren to grow up in. And if you're not there yet, if you're just seeing yourself being elected as the power broker, and you're not seeing what will happen to your grandchildren or your great grandchildren, then you don't deserve to be in a position of leadership.
Wow. I mean, I could listen to you forever. And this is why I told you, I warned you, this is not a politician here, guys. And, Heru is speaking like this because he's a practitioner. He's a community organizer. This is what you have been doing, Heru, in your community. And this is actually, it's not something that you said, well, I would like to do this, right? You have started some of these things already. Can you tell us about that?
Currently, I'm not doing very much, but I have spent several years of working with young people in communities, in this community and in other communities. There was a time a few years back where I would just clean out my entire living room, push all my furniture into the bedrooms.
And watch us. And isn't that what you're talking about, Veronica? I see you're giving me thumbs up.
Yes, it's us. It's us. It's not we against them. It's not them against us. It's us. He's right. It's us.
Yes, working together. And that is what Heru, I mean, your whole Heru, I tell you, you carry and all of the candidates. Don't you guys see that there's something different about them? Honestly, don't you see there is just this freshness and a lot of innovation, and every night you come in here, you're seeing it in the younger parties. There is a freshness, guys. I pray that that doesn't change. It's like a breath of fresh air. Everton, what were your thoughts about the speech?
I was actually off taking care of my little son, just getting things sorted out for him. So I really didn't get to catch most of it. I was in and out with my son. There was something that I caught in it which had to do with Americans and Barbadians leaving and going to the US and thriving under whatever challenges taking place in the US. I think the speaker mainly was trying to elevate or prove to us that we are resilient, we are educated and informed, and we have the potential, which is what is necessary to know. We have the potential to create the solutions that we need to create, but we are looking in the wrong direction for the solutions. The solutions can be birthed from right in our communities, right in our neighborhoods, in our schools, but we have to be able to allow for a space for youth and people within communities to feel welcomed, wanted, and empowered. And I think of everything else that I was hearing regarding that particular point, it was looking at how best can we justify our evolution as a people by recognizing that we have what it takes. We have what it takes to save ourselves from the dire debt trap that we've been placed in. And so I think that that was an important point, I think.
And that is so true. I mean,
I want to say something more say about that. And I'm agreeing with Heru. I'm agreeing with Dr. Ferdinand. We need the programs. Now, my daughter, as you know, is a singer. She can sing. And in order for her to have the opportunities that she wanted, there were none in Barbados. That's why I went back to the United States of America. I actually was back in Barbados. I had no plans of going back to the United States. I went back to the United States so my daughter can get the opportunities that she was seeking that weren't here. And it isn't just to become a Rihanna. That was her goal, but she didn't do that. But you know what she's doing now? She's a vocal coach. She has her own business as a vocal coach. Where are the opportunities in Barbados? We don't have any. I had to leave Barbados and take my daughter overseas so that she can have the opportunities in her field of creativity. And that should not be so.
And I know, Mr. Holligan, that the creative economy it's one of the ways that I know that APP is seeking to diversify the economy, move it away, not just on tourism, but that we have many legs to stand on. Do you want to speak a little bit about the creative economy?
Well, the creative economy is not new. And I think both parties have talked about the creative economy over the years. But I think what the members of the APP has done, particularly Ms. Lynette Eastman, is to give more value, more body to the creative economy, which literally means seeing it as an industry that requires investment, not something that can be played with. And just as much as we invest millions in the tourism product, where we travel abroad and try to get people to come to Barbados, and we oftentimes don't generate the revenue or as much revenue as that we need to generate from the industry. We have many of the ownership of the properties and the bookings done offshore, and so very little comparatively in terms of what is taken in from bookings and stuff. Very little gets dispersed among the population. Very little is sent back home, and so the creative industry is a way then that we can target the creatives within every community of Barbados, create a structure for their creativity, and be able to package and market that creativity to the world. And so it requires a structure and heavy investment for it to actually be able to kick off the way it needs to. So it's just a matter of, again, valuing your people. Because if you believe that all of your solutions, all of what you need is going to come from outside, and that your people, White Oak, et cetera, don't have the skill set to fix the problems that are created locally, or don't have the skill set to generate revenue that can be sold internationally, then we find ourselves consistently spinning in mud, looking for somebody to save us when we should be working on saving ourselves. And so it takes, again, this is where representation becomes important. There are institutions in Barbados that provide excellent work. I can think of one particular institution right now, a theater arts program, that turns out excellent work, excellent, par excellence, that turns out scholars on the international arena, right? But this particular institution is not rolling off the tips of the tongue of every Barbadian citizen. Right now, this particular institution funds and gives scholarships to young Barbadians who weren't able to have access to resources to get to international level in terms of developing their art and their skill and their talent in theater and in music, etc. But this institution is also challenged with being able to survive. So if you have excellent representation, and if you understand that only people who will save us is ourselves, then the resources of the nation will go into institutions such as that, giving it the leverage to prop up, so that the people who manage it will not have to be struggling to do things. But that institution can be propped up and then be allowed to sell that talent to even get other students from across the world to come in because of the excellent work that they do. Or even take it and expand upon it so that it can be an institution of world renown, and then bring in people that people can come and participate in it. And then it could be given the prominence that other institutions are given in different parts of the world. But this, again, you have to have representation who have vision and who can see past the corned beef and biscuits politics, who can see past just waiting every 5 years to come on the block and drop off some weed and drop off some alcohol so that they can get a vote, so they can continue the process. Meanwhile, the people suffer.
Right. Yeah. An institution after institution, such as the one that Heru just mentioned, just died. They just died.
They died because they can't compete.
They can't survive. No,
they can't survive because the people who develop it are worn out. They're beaten and battered. When that institution dies, they don't have anybody. If the leaders die, there's no continuity. And then if there's no continuity, then the children fall off. And if the youth fall off with no other place to go, when an institution like that should be literally replicated because of its nature of excellence, and then be able to then use that as a tool to continue to empower. So all I'm saying is that the creative economy is that. The creative economy is saying, let us put the structure in place and let us use the resources that we use for marketing Barbados as a tourism product, and market the creative nature of our people in every sphere that you can find.
In every community.
And in every community that you can find, package it, and then redistribute it. And for us, we know that with that creative industry, you can create millionaires in every community. Or you can create people in every community, not just the heights and terraces, but the creatives that exist on the blocks.
Correct.
They become the pioneers in ways in which they can leverage and generate revenue on the international market, because the government has a structure for them and an industry for them that they can plug into, and they can reap the benefits from it. Just as much as people can come and build hotels and plug into the government tourism product, get tax exemptions, get all of the exemptions that we and other businesses don't get, and then be able to generate that revenue and then traffic it out into their world where they come from, instead of having that revenue stay at home and build the capacity of the people above just crumbs falling off the table, but literally to build the capacity of the people. Correct. And this is what the APP is about. This is what the creative economy is about. this is what we are about as we take on this journey in the battle to save our countrymen and women.
And especially our youth.
Wow.
Future
I'm
of Barbados.
the future of Barbados, and I'm as a creative, I'm listening, and I'm like, oh, Heru's reading my mail. You are touching any creative who listen to that understand exactly what you're talking about and understand that need. And sometimes I say to myself, I wonder if Barbados realize that if everything is stripped away, all you have is your people. It's
Yeah.
the people. And within the people, we have all the gifts and the creativity. Go ahead, Hero.
No, I was just thinking, I was speaking to my creative assistant today who was saying even to find stock photos of happy black men, it's a you can't find it. Like you have to literally dig and dig and dig to find a stock photo of a happy black person or happy black woman. Several things that we can actually put in place on behalf of our people is just hard
Yes.
to find. And so the creative
Yes.
industry is literally an industry that requires structure, and that's what the APP has been about. That's our
And
next industry. That's our
funding.
next revolution.
And
Yeah, support,
funding.
resources. Yeah,
Support. Funding.
that's our next industry. And so while
And I love
we
when you
try to
say it's the
chase,
next revolution. It is the
Mhm,
next revolution. And really
correct.
it is because, I mean, we've seen what happened with the pandemic, and there was a time, when we weren't getting that many tourists. And so
Yeah,
Right.
what's going to happen to us in here? We still have to eat, we still have to live, and it's going to be the people, the creativity, what is inside the people. And sometimes, Hero, we think, and Veronica, we think creativity is what you do on a stage and so on. But it's those farmers in St. Joseph who might not
Yes.
have the right tools and might not have the right know how, but then they've come up with an idea, Hero, to be
Correct.
able to work that soil. That is the creativity, and that is
Correct.
what is in the people that they
That's
can
why
just
I always say the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, the creatives. It's not just people on stage.
yes, it goes beyond the people on stage.
Correct.
I think
well,
Hero, you were saying something.
no, I'm just the creative industry is one. I was just thinking that, we've spent a lot of time talking about medicinal marijuana and not enough time in decriminalizing marijuana and trying to ensure that we reduce the amounts of incidences of our young brothers and sisters being hauled before the court for incidences of marijuana use, which is something that needs to also be discussed. But the reason why I brought that up is because there's a lot of resources being put, or a lot of time and energy being put into what is known as medical marijuana now. And my personal view is that that horse is already long bolted, and it will be very difficult to develop that industry locally in terms of cost factors, etc. And the creative industry is an option that would not require that much resource in terms of being able to be able to grow and produce medical marijuana to fit the market. The amount of resources that has to go into it, that we can also we can use the creative industry as a jump off point, as an industry that may be more lucrative and literally more easy to access and get into than the medical marijuana industry that the current administration is trying so hard to get off the ground. So I was just trying to juxtapose the medical marijuana, which is an industry that's being touted as the next best industry for us, juxtapose it to the creative industry, which is way diverse, because medical marijuana industry doesn't include us as players. This is other people who are coming in and benefiting from it. But then the creative industry can be my neighbor, can be the little boy or the old man up the street who has a knack for putting things together in a way in which the world may want to have access to.
Correct.
Yes, that is really powerful, right there, because I'm telling you, the more I saw that happen in COVID, where that creativity had to come in, right? And yeah, we were making our own masks. We lots of things were beginning to happen, And I thought that there was a point there with this government where we saw something was happening, and I was like, yes, something is happening when they were encouraging agriculture. I even
Yeah,
got up and started to, and then they just dropped it. The people
yeah,
dropped
they
it
needed
and
to. There
spend
was
money on
so many things to capitalize on:
Correct.
education, community development, agriculture. There were so many things. So, like, this was the perfect time to reform the education.
Working from
it was,
home.
it was the perfect
Virtual.
time to do so much. But again, I don't know. I feel like it's just the consciousness of not believing in your people. It's
Mhm.
just so endemic. And so this is where new politics have to come and play a part. New politics have to play a part in this, because how do you shift the goalposts from these same old heads? They know how to score the goals. They know
Right.
how to win elections, because winning elections doesn't necessarily mean you're the better party or the better candidates. They just know how to do it better. They know how to manipulate the
Have
vote.
the
They,
resources.
they, they have the resources, but that doesn't mean that it literally is in the best interest of the people.
Mhm.
And the people
So
need to
the,
recognize that.
yeah, so they agreed. So the new thinking, new policies, new ideas um, have to really come to the fore, and it has to be supported by the people who look forward and see that what is ahead of us, given the way how things are happening, doesn't look the best.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because ultimately it's still digging in the same hole. Like I mentioned earlier, the party before, the only way they did it was keep digging in that hole. Then this other party came and dug a little bit deeper. And then now the manifestos are coming out and they're saying we're gonna dig a little bit deeper. And then when they come in, then they're gonna dig even deeper again, because the
Mhm.
manifestos really just speak to what they would like to see happen, but it doesn't speak to where we are
Mhm.
currently and the possibilities of making those things happen. So as a
Mhm.
result of, when as a younger party, we were looking at what was happening last year in 2018 in politics, and then we started listening to all the promises that was being brought to the fore, and we were wondering, how are they going to do all of this? Where is the money going to come from? And
Exactly.
because we knew as a small party that something was wrong, because there was
Where's
no
the
revenue
money?
here to
Where's
do
it coming
this.
from? Yes.
But then they literally got into power and said, we didn't know it was so bad. Like the oldest trick in the book. How do you still do that in 2018? Like tell people you didn't know it was so bad. You're the leader of the opposition. You are the opposition, the official opposition. You know what the bank book looks like for the government. What do you mean you didn't
Yes.
know? And
You
people
didn't know.
literally agreed and bought this. And then they
Yes.
started attacking the other party. They stole everything. Like, what are you talking about? Come on, get an understanding of what's going on in your country, please. Like, it doesn't work like that, you know. And so then we started going to the IMF, and then from the IMF, then all these other loans. The hole is getting bigger, getting dug deeper. Hole is getting dug deeper, and we were saying, hey, listen, we have an economy here that we can boost. We have the creative economy. We have our people that we can dwell upon. We have our people that we have to build a democracy with. We have to improve our democracy with. We can't just be doing things on their behalf without letting them know what we're doing. We had the perfect opportunity to create this unified effort that we needed to help and build forward. But the hole just kept digging. The hole just kept digging. So here we are now being dragged and kicked in elections where there's a pandemic, within quotation marks, in my personal opinion, looming, and we are being told that we have to go through these elections to form unity or to get a mandate. What is that mandate supposed to be given for? What is supposed to come after you've given that mandate? So, what if you win the party? What is this mandate that you're coming with? Is it mandatory vaccines? Because we don't want that. Is it higher taxes? Because we don't want that. What is this mandate that you're coming with that we're supposed to now give you the authority by our vote to do? Why
In the
not just
form
tell
of
us up front?
slavery.
Because we don't want that. We want freedom. We want our people to feel like they belong to this country. We want them to make decisions in Parliament, or we want Parliament to make decisions based on what our people want. And we want our electorate to be fully continuously educated so that they can work and join with us in government to ensure that we can have the communities and societies that they need to see and they need to evolve in. I have to run off. I want to thank you for
Yes,
giving me
well,
this
we are
opportunity.
closing now. We're actually closing now. We normally by 9:15, by about 9:15 we're closing up. But this has been tremendous, guys, and let's move this from just talk.
To
Let's move
Barbados,
from just
the
talk.
preferred place to live, to work, to do business, and to raise our children.
Yes, and
Ashe.
correct. Let's move it from talk and let's move it to the 19th. Let's go to the 19th, guys, and we have Mr. Everton Heru Holligan, and he is St. George South. Let
Yes.
us get him in there as our representative, and Miss Veronica Price St. Michael West Central, Ferdinand Nichols, who was on tonight as well, St. George North, and Miss Paula Bradshaw. We can't forget Miss Paula Bradshaw.
Right.
St. Joseph, we got a special work to do up there in St. Joseph, guys. Listen, and to everybody that's watching, remember it's a us thing. You got to share this. All right? You have to share this. You have to share this and use word of mouth. Talk to people about what you heard here tonight, right? Talk to people about what you heard. You heard. I listened to those people, and there was something fresh about them. Go ahead and help them because we don't have, a lot of these younger parties don't have the resources. I've been saying it every night. They need money. They need. You said, oh, but we don't hear about them because they can't pay. Those Barbados today lives, guys, it's like $2,000 to do a live on Barbados today. It's expensive. And this is not something that they plan. So we need you. Word of mouth. Everybody here. Call somebody. Call somebody in St. George North. Call somebody in St. George South. Call people in St. Michael West Central. Talk about the APP. Talk about the younger parties. Word of mouth. Use your fingers. Digital. Get going, guys, and let's get this off. Let's get this off and let everybody know about it. Okay. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Miss Price. And thank you, Mr. Holligan. God bless you.